Okay, let's just start with the obvious. Who sells $250 million in jerseys while sitting on the bench? Because, apparently, that is Sheduer Sanders' new superpower. Forget touchdowns. Forget rookie contracts. This man just flipped the NFL marketing machine upside down, without taking a single snap. And the Cleveland Browns? They're watching it happen from the sidelines, literally.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
You wake up to the news. $250 million. That's not a typo. That's a record-breaking, internet-breaking, front office-shaking level of jersey sales. For a rookie. For a benched rookie. And then you scroll a little further and realize, yeah, Sheduer Sanders, son of Dion, college football's human highlight reel, hype machine incarnate, is still stuck behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. No offense to either of them, but if this were a movie, they'd be the grizzled mentor and the comic relief, not the main act. And that's when it hits you. This isn't just a quarterback controversy. This is a full-blown sports drama. You've got the rising star, the stubborn coach, the legacy name, the money, the media, the pressure. The only thing missing is a slow-motion walkout with dramatic music. But don't worry, that's probably coming next week. Let's rewind a little. Sheduer Sanders didn't just appear out of thin air. He's been on a steady climb ever since he landed under the Deion Sanders College Football Cinematic Universe. From Jackson State to Colorado, Sheduer brought with him swagger, precision, and, yeah, a pretty healthy amount of media coverage. But it wasn't all just smoke. The guy performed. He broke records. He read defenses like open books. He made throws that made scouts double-check their clipboards. So when draft day came, the buzz was already nuclear. Analysts were split. Some labeled him a marketing gamble. Others whispered future franchise QB. But everyone agreed on one thing. Sheduer moves the needle. And when the Browns picked him up, it looked like they were finally leaning into the future. Except they didn't. Fast forward to preseason, and it's deja vu in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski, clipboard in hand, reciting the safe, rehearsed lines about trusting the process and relying on experience. Translation? Flacco and Gabriel are starting. Sheduer can wait. And the fan base? Yeah, they're not exactly thrilled. Then, the numbers drop. $250 million in jersey sales. It's a kind of stat that makes execs drool and rivals panic. It's also the kind of stat that makes absolutely zero sense if the guy behind it isn't even suiting up. Suddenly, this isn't just about football anymore. It's about optics. It's about marketing. It's about the league's future. Enter Travis Kelce. Now, Travis doesn't usually wade into other teams' drama. He's got his own dynasty to run in Kansas City. But, apparently, even he couldn't stay quiet. In an interview that immediately made waves, Kelce flat out begged the Browns to play Sheduer. He didn't sugarcoat it. He dropped a few choice words. He sounded more like a fan than a fellow player. And honestly, he spoke for all of us. Because when someone with 3 Super Bowl rings is openly campaigning to watch a rookie play, maybe it's time to listen. And yet, the Browns doubled down. When asked about the mounting pressure, Stefanski gave a shrug-worthy response about trusting veterans and team culture. Which, okay, we get it. Starting a rookie is risky. There's media attention, locker room politics, and the ever-present threat of screwing up a young career too early. But come on, you're telling us those are the reasons you're sitting on a $250 million gold mine? Let's not pretend this is a normal situation. This isn't just another rookie waiting his turn. This is Sheduer Sanders. He's already out-earned half the league in merchandise. He's got fans showing up in number 2 jerseys before he's even touched the ball. And he's got a highlight reel that runs longer than some careers. The Browns' refusal to capitalize on this moment? It's not just cautious. It's delusional. And the fans know it. Social media is one giant angry group chat. Clips of Kelce's outburst are going viral. Analysts are shading the Browns on live TV. Even rival fan bases are chiming in, half in mockery, half in disbelief. There's this weird consensus forming. Cleveland is sitting on a potential phenomenon and doing absolutely nothing with it. But here's where it gets messy, eh? Behind the scenes, whispers are starting to leak. Apparently, there's more than just football politics at play. Some insiders say the organization is terrified of what starting Sheduer would mean. Not just for the game, but for the narrative. They're afraid the spotlight would shift entirely to him. That his success or failure would dominate headlines. That everything from play calling to locker room chemistry would be judged through the lens of the Deion Sanders legacy. And honestly, they're probably right. But isn't that kind of the point? This is entertainment. It's the NFL. Drama sells. Storylines matter. If you're scared of media attention, why are you in professional sports? Instead of embracing the moment, the Browns are playing defense off the field. And in doing so, they're letting the biggest story of the season write itself without them. Let's talk money. $250 million in jersey sales isn't just a flex, it's a warning sign. It means the fans are all in. It means they're buying into the Sheduer Sanders brand, not the Cleveland Browns brand. And the longer he stays benched, the more it looks like the team is actively working against its own future. Want a visual? Picture thousands of fans in the stands wearing Sanders jerseys while watching Flacco take the field. It's like showing up to a Marvel premiere and getting a rerun of Matlock. No hate to the veterans, but the audience is not here for that. And let's not forget, this isn't just about Cleveland. The NFL as a whole is watching. Sheduer Sanders is box office. He's a chance to inject fresh energy into a league that thrives on spectacle. He could be the next face of the NFL. And right now, the Browns are the ones holding the remote. So what are they waiting for? Fear. That's the quiet part no one wants to say out loud. The organization is afraid to gamble, afraid to make waves, afraid to trust what everyone else can already see. They're playing chess while the rest of the league is filming TikToks. And that's exactly why they're falling behind. Meanwhile, Sheduer waits. Cameras catch him on the sideline, calm, collected, wearing the same number that's printing money at NFL shops nationwide. Every shot of him on the bench is a meme waiting to happen. Every week he doesn't start, the pressure builds. The narrative swells. And when, not if, he finally takes the field, the expectations will be sky high. So what happens if he flops? Well, that's the risk, isn't it? But at least then we know. At least then the Browns would have taken a shot. Because right now, they're not just benching a rookie, they're benching a movement. And you can't put that kind of hype back in the bottle. Sheduer doesn't need saving. He doesn't even need a defense. The numbers, the endorsements, the fan reactions, they all speak louder than the Browns' excuses. And the longer the franchise waits, the more it risks being remembered not as the team that launched a superstar, but as the team that sat on him. So here we are. Week after week, the Browns run out their vets. Sheduer's jersey flies off the shelves. Fans chant his name before halftime. Kelsey probably has a Google alert set to free Sheduer. And the rest of us? We're watching, waiting, and wondering how long a team can ignore a phenomenon in its own house. But hey, maybe Cleveland's playing the long game. Maybe they're building tension for a dramatic reveal. Maybe they'll let Sheduer debut under stadium lights with fireworks and violins and Deion in the stands. Or maybe they're just blowing it. So Browns, consider this your final warning. You're not just benching a quarterback. You're benching a moment. You've got a player who could change the narrative, not just for your team, but for the whole league. And if you keep sitting on him, that moment will pass. The fans will turn. The locker room will shift. And when you finally make the call, it might be too late. Start him. Not next season. Not when the vets get injured. Now. Because if you don't, Sheduer Sanders' legacy might still go down in NFL history. But the Cleveland Browns? They'll just be a footnote in the chapter titled, What Could Have Been. Oh, and hey, before you go, drop your take in the comments. Should Sheduer start? Is Cleveland self-sabotaging or playing it smart? Let's hear it. And if you're into watching teams spiral in real time, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more chaos where this came from. The Browns aren't even bad enough to justify the chaos. They're just good enough to keep dragging this out. Like, they're not losing so hard that they're forced to make a desperate move. But they're also not winning big enough to silence the noise. It's that classic middle-of-the-pack purgatory, where safe decisions go to rot and exciting ones get buried under game management. And that's the real trap here. Because every week that Sheduer doesn't play, the narrative snowballs. The media digs in deeper. Fans get louder. Clips of Sheduer throwing absolute darts in practice leak online. You get former players weighing in on Twitter. You get ESPN talking heads creating countdown graphics like it's a Marvel Phase 4 release schedule. How long until Santa starts? And meanwhile, the Browns' PR team is scrambling like a toddler with an iPad and a fire hose. Press conferences get tenser. Stefanski's answers get shorter. Team officials, suddenly, aren't taking questions about quarterbacks. Which is always code for, we're in over our heads. Here's the kicker. They could have owned this. They could have leaned into the drama, framed Sheduer as the future, played the long game, but acknowledged the hype. But instead, they've gone full ghost mode. And nothing fuels suspicion like silence. Let's be real, this isn't just football politics. This is corporate politics. You've got execs worried about optics, coaches clinging to job security, PR managers treating Sheduer like he's radioactive. There's probably an entire strategy deck labeled controlling the Sheduer narrative, sitting on some VP's desk next to a very full stress ball. And here's the irony that's just too poetic to ignore. The Browns are acting like Sheduer is a risk, when he's the safest bet they've got. Why? Because the world already wants him to win. He's not some unknown rookie. He's a brand, a storyline, the son of a Hall of Famer who reinvented himself in the college spotlight and still came out humble, focused, and lethal with the ball. People like Sheduer. They want to see what he can do. They want to believe. And that's not something you can coach. That's lightning in a bottle. But instead of popping the cork, the Browns are acting like he's a bottle of nitroglycerin. Like one bad throw will bring the whole franchise down. Spoiler alert. Your fan base is already halfway there emotionally. Let's not sugarcoat it. This has become a PR ticking time bomb. The longer he sits, the more the fans turn bitter. You can already feel the shift in tone. The chants are getting less cute and more desperate. The tweets are getting meaner. The jerseys are still selling, but now they're being worn ironically. People are making memes of Sanders photoshopped onto other teams. Other teams. You know how bad it has to get for fans to fantasize about your rookie thriving somewhere else? And Sheduer? The man is playing this like a seasoned pro. Not a single complaint. Not a single tweet. Not even a cryptic Instagram story. Just stone-cold silence and sideline poise. Which somehow makes this even worse for the Browns. Because the more composed he is, the more he looks like the grown-up in the room. At this point, it's not just about football anymore. It's about timing. Because timing is everything in the NFL. Miss your moment, and it doesn't come back. The window closes. The hype dies. The media moves on. Fans get jaded. And before you know it, your once-in-a-generation storyline becomes a remember when? Remember when Sheduer Sanders was the most hyped rookie in the league? Remember when the Browns sat on $250 million in jersey sales and still rolled with Joe Flacco? Remember when the whole country wanted to watch a kid play football and a billion-dollar franchise said, "Nah, maybe next week"? Yeah, that's where we're heading. And the worst part? The Browns know it. You can feel it in every awkward press scrum, every dodged question, every throwaway line about team culture. They're not confused. They're not unsure. They're just scared. Scared of being wrong. Because if they play Sheduer and he struggles, the media will pounce. The haters will swarm. And all those cautious voices in the organization will say, "See? We told you he wasn't ready." But if they don't play him, they miss the only real opportunity they've had in years to turn the narrative in their favor. They let fear make their decision. And fans will remember that. Forever. And let's talk about those fans. Cleveland has some of the most passionate, die-hard fans in the league. These people live and breathe football in sub-zero temperatures with paper bags over their heads and hope in their hearts. They deserve better than a franchise that's too scared to try. They deserve a reason to believe. And Sheduer is that reason. He's not just a rookie. He's a movement, a moment, a chance for something new, something exciting, something more than 9 to 8 and a wild card weekend exit. And right now, that moment is slipping through the cracks while the front office debates readiness. But let's flip it for a second. Imagine this goes differently. Imagine Stefanski walks into the locker room next week and says, "It's time." Imagine Sheduer suits up. Imagine the crowd erupts. Imagine that first drive, eyes glued, stadium electric, and boom, he drops a 30-yard dime on the run. Do you understand the chaos that would ensue? The stadium would explode. Social media would implode. Sports Center would detonate. The league would pivot in real time. Headlines would shift. Sponsors would call. And the Browns? They'd go from cautious to visionary overnight. That's the power of the moment they're holding. But the thing about moments? They don't wait. You either seize them or you lose them. And right now, Cleveland's sitting at a crossroads with a generational talent on one side and business as usual on the other. They can keep hedging, keep hiding, keep hoping the noise dies down. Or they can make the call. Let Sheduer start. Let the kid cook. Let the narrative spin out into something unforgettable. Because if they don't, if they keep dragging this out until mid-season or worse, after the season's already gone sideways, then it's not just a blown opportunity. It's a full-blown organizational meltdown. One that fans will talk about for decades. One that players will reference in interviews. One that will haunt this franchise the same way every other could-be-been has. Remember Brady Quinn? Remember Johnny Manziel? Yeah, this isn't that. But it could become that if they let fear do the talking. This is different. This is bigger. This is Sheduer. And the clock is ticking. If any other rookie quarterback in the league had pulled these numbers, $250 million in jersey sales without even touching the field, he'd already have a statue outside the stadium. He'd have his own camera angle on national broadcasts. The entire NFL schedule would be flexing games to feature his debut. There'd be a Netflix documentary in production. And the team? They'd be parading him around like the second coming of Brady, Mahomes, and Beyoncé rolled into one. But Sheduer Sanders? He's still being treated like a development project. Make it make sense. This isn't just mishandling a player. This is mishandling a moment in time. We're watching in real time as a franchise squanders generational hype because they're too deep in their own heads. The Browns have somehow convinced themselves that starting a red-hot rookie quarterback would be too much of a distraction. Sorry, too much of a distraction? From what exactly? The thrilling QB carousel between a 39-year-old Joe Flacco and a backup named Dylan who sounds like he still has a student meal plan? This isn't chess. This is Candyland. And the Browns are stuck in molasses swamp because they're overthinking everything. And look, this isn't an anti-veteran rant. Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl ring. Dylan Gabriel put up solid college numbers. But come on, you know when something is different. And Sheduer? He's different. He doesn't just move merch. He moves energy. And energy is everything in sports. If you've ever watched Sheduer play, even once you get it. The footwork, the poise, the deep ball that drops like poetry into a receiver's hands. The unbothered confidence. Not cocky. Not showy, just inevitable. He plays like the moment belongs to him. And that's not something you can teach. That's the part the Browns seem to be missing. It's not just about reps or mechanics or game film. It's about presence. And Sheduer has it in abundance. But maybe that's exactly what's scaring them. Because once you start Sheduer Sanders, the spotlight doesn't leave. The story becomes him. And for a franchise that spent most of the last 2 decades trying to avoid the spotlight, that's terrifying. Cleveland isn't used to being the center of attention for the right reasons. And when you're used to operating in chaos, sometimes success feels like unfamiliar territory. It's easier to cling to the familiar, the aging vet, the wait-your-turn approach, than it is to leap into the unknown. But history doesn't reward caution. It rewards the bold. Think of every modern NFL icon. Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert. What do they all have in common? They weren't held back until it was safe. They were unleashed. Teams saw their potential and went for it. And even when it didn't all click immediately, those teams committed. That's what Sheduer needs. Not just a start, a commitment. A team that says, "You're our guy. Let's ride this wave together." Instead, he's been left in this awkward limbo where the fans see the future, but the franchise is too scared to admit they do too. And now it's bleeding into everything. You've got locker room tension, rumors swirling, star players giving weird interviews where they try to be supportive but clearly want to say more. Every post-game presser now includes some version of the question, "When is Sheduer going to play?" And the answers are getting shakier by the week. Even the reporters look exhausted. They're asking the same questions over and over, and the responses are copy-pasted coach speak. "We like what we've seen in practice. He's progressing well. There's no rush." Yawn. At some point, you can't hide behind the word development anymore, because development implies progress. And keeping Sheduer in street clothes while half the league crumbles under weak QB play? That's not development. That's paralysis. Meanwhile, fans are turning Sheduer into a folk hero. Every shot of him on the sideline becomes a viral post. He doesn't even have to say anything. He just stand there, icy wristwatch peeking out from under his hoodie, and the internet melts down. It's the mystique, the mystery of what could be. And the longer we don't see him play, the more that mystery grows. Which is another problem entirely, because when he does finally take the field, it's going to feel like the Super Bowl. All eyes, all pressure, all at once. It didn't have to be that way. If the Browns had ripped the Band-Aid off early, let him start a few games with reasonable expectations, the kid could have built into it, learned from mistakes, grown with the team. But now, they've built a myth. And myths don't get to ease in. They get judged, ruthlessly. And let's be honest, that's not on Sheduer. That's on them. They're the ones who turned this into a spectacle. Not the media, not the fans, not even Dion, the Browns. Because inaction is a choice. And by choosing to sit the most talked about rookie in football, they've created a vacuum that's sucking the entire season into its orbit. And still, there's this strange hope. This flicker in the back of every fan's mind that says maybe this is part of the plan. That maybe the Browns are cooking something we can't see yet. That Sheduer is the ace they're keeping up their sleeve for the right moment. But how much longer are we supposed to wait for that moment? Week 1? Came and went. Week 4? Still nothing. Mid-season debut? Maybe. But at that point, what are you really saying? That he wasn't ready? Or that you weren't? Because there's a difference. One is a player learning the game. The other is an organization learning how to deal with relevance. Let's not pretend Sheduer's career will be defined by this delay. He'll get his moment, one way or another. And when he does, there's a good chance he'll light it up. Because hype aside, the talent is real. The question isn't whether Sheduer will succeed. The question is, will Cleveland be the place where it happens? Or will they get added to the long, dusty list of teams who blinked at the wrong moment? If you've been a Browns fan for more than 10 minutes, you already know that feeling. The almost. The what if. The we had him but. So here we are again. Another talent. Another turning point. And another choice. They can double down. Keep pretending Flacco is the answer. Keep ignoring the roar of the crowd. Keep spinning the same tired PR line about developing slowly. Or, they can give the fans what they've already paid for. They can give the league a show. They can give Sheduer the keys. Because guess what? The future's already here. He's just waiting for someone to let him drive. And if Cleveland doesn't have the guts to hand them over, some other team will. And when that day comes, don't be surprised when number 2 jerseys start flying off shelves in a different city, and all the Browns have left is a bittersweet highlight reel and a cautionary tale titled, "How to Fumble a $250 Million Opportunity Without Ever Taking the Field."